Okay, we'd like to use polarization for multiplexing, but we have to be concerned with what happens to the polarization as it travels through an optical fiber. So we're going to look at the polarization dynamics and fiber propagation. So we started out with this concept of having orthogonal data transmission channels being two different polarization channels. And if we look at time zero, that we would have a certain data stream here that's going to be propagated. So we need to account for what we call birefringence. And birefringence in a fiber means that the refractive index of the fiber locally at any point along the fiber is actually a bit different for each polarization. And because of that slight difference, propagation effects will be different. And this arises due to different causes. Could be the mechanical stress during the pulling of the fiber, could be due to deployment, microbends, and it could be due to temperature fluctuations, different effects. All of these lead to this effect of birefringence, which causes these two different polarizations to look at a slightly different channel. And the net effect, when we look at what's happening with our data signal, is that the polarization state of the light drifts rapidly, perhaps very rapidly, depends on the situation, and randomly as it propagates. So the important thing to realize is that these perturbations in the fiber are fundamentally unitary. What I mean by unitary is that they don't induce loss. What they induce is a rotation on the polarization state. So the orientation of the X and Y fields that we're propagating, our modulated signal, which is on two different polarizations, this orientation can change. But what's important to realize is that the 90-degree angle between the X and the Y, these channels, that's strictly preserved. So let's look at an illustration of what is going on. So we have here the, let me say, an absolute reference for our polarization on the X and the Y, and then the Z is our propagation. So we're going up and along the fiber, and we're starting out with our data here, where we have one set of data which we mark X is all aligned on the X polarization state. That's how it starts when it leaves our transmitter, and the data that we label Y starts on the Y polarization. So it starts first of all orthogonal and aligned to this reference of absolutely all horizontal or all vertical, however you want to name the polarization states. But as we propagate, as time goes by, there are these random fluctuations in the each of the polarization channels, and this is leading to the data. For instance, if we look at the blue data here, it's no longer always aligned with this axis. It's rotating, and it's got a different orientation. The same for the pink one. It's no longer aligned with one axis, but it's rotating. But the important thing is that the 90-degree relative phase between our two data channels, that is staying the same. So the fixed axes here, the axes of our data, I should say, are rotating to a reference frame. And that means if I'm looking in my reference frame, absolute X, absolute Y, it looks like my data at any given point during the transmission is actually, even though it's labeled X, it's not in X. It's part of it's in X, part of it's in Y. And even though it's labeled Y, it's not really at any given point of time, it's not lined up with Y. It's actually a mix into different polarization states in terms of the reference frame. So what that means is that the orthogonality is always preserved, but as I said, the X data is no longer bound to the X polarization. Same for the Y. So how do we model this mathematically? Well, we use what we call a Jones matrix, and in matrix multiplication, that would be a rotation, which is given by these cosines and sines. So theta is that rotation that we saw, relative to the reference frame. And it multiplies our data. And so here's our vector of data, which starts out originally when there's zero rotation, aligned with the absolute reference. And this is an explicit mathematical representation where we can see a rotation. Another means of presenting the Jones matrix is using a complex pair of coordinates that lets us capture the fact that this is not so much a rotation as that we see it more as a linear combination. That this alpha and beta represent how much of each of the x data and the y data are ending up in x, how much of them are ending up in y. And in this representation, the alpha and the beta would sum to 1, their squares would sum to 1. And again, I said this is a complex representation. So they're just two mathematical models that can capture what's going on. So the most important takeaway is that orthogonality is preserved, and that's like crucial. But the reality is we have to deal with the fact that when we receive the signal, we no longer know where is exactly that x data and that y data. So we have to be able to undo that mixing, and that'll be our next step.